we renamed our group. We're the Equity and Diversity Group. So our prototype from the first was a representation of something living. We were thinking of it like a tree. It was something that was living, but it's living and it's kind of a living chaos is what it is. But the important piece is that it was living and there were roots that were growing, but the roots weren't connected. They weren't connected to the other pieces and they could have been deeper, they could have been connected to other things. And so we had a lot of work to do to organize the chaos and to get the roots to go deeper.
And this is what we came up this morning. And I'd like to use the analogy of grass all over campus. There are so many things happening on equity and diversity. We probably need a whole wall to map out the things that are happening in terms of equity and diversity.
So one of the things that we wanted to do with all of the different units that we highlighted in this first map is we tried to create space or an opportunity to highlight the connections and the hubs. And instead of just traditional lines connecting, we wanted to identify people, services, and practices that were actually connecting different units. We have a number of different units all over the place. We were trying to figure out what is going to be the central hub. We talked about outreach and engagement as being that hub. We also talked about different ways to kind of make sure that OED was highlighted and present in all of these connections. And again, for lack of time, we didn't get a chance to really outline everything that we wanted to do, but we wanted to at least present that idea and that opportunity that the connections are not just lines, they're actually people, programs, and processes.
And so actually the first part of our agenda will be to really work on this mapping project and try to figure out all the interconnections that those things represent, how they map on to sort of these natural hubs where people are already clustering, and that could be the first part of putting together a sort of almost a visual database of what work is happening and how it all interconnects. And we hope to also have some sort of face-to-face forums where people are talking about work they're doing and that sort of shared issues or challenges would bubble out of that, and also a structure to share resources. And there was some talk about a retreat that maybe could happen sometime coming up that would do that.
I like the communication piece, the newsletter, and I hope it's in part intended to drive people to the database because we put a lot of effort into compiling this information, but then is there utility if it's not being accessed? Are we tracking whether it's being accessed? And how are we driving people to this resource that we're investing in? So I hope the newsletter would be one strategy to do that, but as we all know, there'll probably need to be an interlocking web of strategies to get people to utilize that information.
Both electronic and in person, we thought was,
Well, and I wonder too if in addition to a database, whether there's or an expanded sense of database, like is there a database of stories, people telling the stories of what they do, why they do it, what they've learned by mistake, through mistakes, the kinds of things that people don't always want to share in an expert-driven environment, So allowing for those connections and stories to be captured. I mean, it's a powerful, observation that there are common practices as well as people who are connected. And so just acting on it, or trying to share them.